Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Victor Viles.
My name is Fabian Aviles, and this is where we bridge the gap between generational differences.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. So this is our first episode that we're doing today.
Yeah.
And to start off with, I want to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you.
Today's October 19th, and
Thank
I know
you.
yesterday was your birthday.
Yeah.
So happy 18th birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a milestone.
Yeah.
Being a man now.
Yeah. Especially, I'm in college. It's different. A lot is changing, but now, I'm starting to grow up, and I guess that's why we're here. Really, it's just to talk about what it means to be a grown up. That generational difference.
Yeah. Well, the generational difference between me and you.
Right.
I see. So how about we start talking about a little bit about yourself, let everyone know why we're starting to do this podcast, how we got here, and a little about yourself. Let the audience know.
At the well, I'm going to Rutgers University. I'm studying poli-sci and planning on doing a double major in public policy. I think one of the biggest reasons that we are sitting here, is mostly just because there's a lot of politics in, everyday society lately, and we differ on a lot of things, but having a discussion about it, I think, is really important. And I guess we just kind of wanted to share that discussion with people to kind of see where we stood generationally. I come from a younger generation, you come from an older generation. Where do we stand politically, in our beliefs, in our morals, in our values? And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Do you want to talk about yourself?
Yeah. So pretty much about me. Yes, I do tend to have a little older mentality. I mean, it's not like I'm that old, but I have a little more of a conservative views in life. Sometimes I do look at things a little more progressive at times, so it's not like I completely lean all the way to the right. But I thought we'd take advantage of this time and have conversations with my son, and and see where we can meet in the middle, right? And see how we tend to see our differences and see what is it that we can work out. Maybe there's stuff that he could learn off of me, right? Just having more of more of experience of life, right? We're looking at about a 20-year gap, a little over 20 years of gap of differences in life, and and there's other things that he has a lot more experience than I do, especially educational wise. He has a lot of accomplishments in a short period of time in life. Which could you actually give a little bit of your background, like at least for what have you accomplished in high school?
Yeah, I mean, starting from freshman year, I was always very much involved in civic engagement. I ran in, school politics, where I ran for the freshman representative, and I won in a very tight race. But I think from that moment, I knew that I always kind of wanted to be a public face, that politics was something that I could definitely lean towards. And lately, through debate club and with interning with my local state legislator, there was always, politics kind of just like something that I knew that I wanted to do. So, in that, not that you aren't as well versed in politics that I am, but I definitely do have a lot more experience when it comes to these things, especially studying it now in college. There's a lot that, I know, and the same way that you kind of want to teach me some stuff, I also want to, give back what you put into me. So it's kind of like, it's a back and forth. This conversation is just a back and forth, kind of conversation.
Right. And so what is it again that you were trying to do? I know you were also trying to also go to Princeton, right?
Yeah.
That was like one of your goals, and you were telling me as well. If you'd like to let everyone know that that's kind of like one of your goals in the future.
Yeah. Higher education has always kind of been like in my life. I've always known that I've kind of wanted to go to college and gain a degree. Previously, before I went to Rutgers, I kind of said to myself I wanted to go to Princeton, but Princeton is not an easy school. Unfortunately, I didn't make it. I went through the interview process. It was a very nice interview. But no, I didn't make it, unfortunately. But it is one of those schools that is daunting because there are, a lot of people that come out of that school that say, like, oh my God, like that was a really tough time for me. And I knew that I wanted to be challenged, but not to the extent that I would start losing myself. I think settling for Rutgers, really, it's a state school. It's a top, I believe, 40 in the nation, top 20 public school. It's a really good school, and that is an environment that I knew I wanted to be in when it came to my higher education. So yeah, Princeton was on the books, but now I'm in Rutgers, hoping to go to law school after my 4 years at Rutgers. Hopefully something like Cornell or Harvard or Yale, but we never know what the future might hold. I might not even go to law school. So
Right. I mean, you're so far in the beginning of your path, so I guess things could change, right? So you never know how. I don't know. Like I guess your path could be molded, in your journey. So, I mean, I'm excited. I look forward to it. That's why I kind of wanted to start this podcast for you. To see if it could help you in any way. We personally talk about it. I said, you know what, since I'm really proud of your accomplishments so far, in regards to the little, your involvements, right? Like you have with your, I believe this assemblyman of your.
yeah, the Assemblyman of Legislative District 17, Assemblyman Joe Danielson. Yeah.
And I see that you're always you tend to do like what's it called? You tend to like to go to these not protests, but was it
Events.
events? Well, what is it? The ones like
Canvassing.
canvassing and then door knockings. I think you
Yeah,
told me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you're very involved. You're very passionate. I said let's go. Let's do something else. Who knows what this could turn into. So here we are, episode 1, and we'll not just only just talk about politics. I guess we'll just talk about other things in life. We'll talk about other passions that we might have. If it could be into tech, finance, other hobbies that we might have. We'll try to talk about anything that's maybe relevant or just anything in the past that we might want to talk of. Yeah. What would be one of your topics today that you like to get into?
Yesterday, one of the biggest protests in American history happened. No Kings. I thought that was pretty eventful. I don't know. I thought that we're talking about birthdays. The birthday of the country is, I think, next year, 250 years of the U.S., and we're in a time where civil discourse is so prevalent. And yesterday was one of the biggest examples. I think there was upwards of 7 million people out in the streets, protesting, and even in other countries like Europe and Canada, Europe. It's interesting. I think that we are in a very interesting time. We're seeing a lot of people being more political than they've been before as a result of what's going on. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. What did you think?
Yes, I was aware of it. Personally, I look at it as like, obviously everyone has their own different opinions. You're gonna have one side of the aisle that is gonna look at things completely different than others. I personally do not support it. I know that you're gonna have everyone else that is like, okay, yes, you don't want no kings. Personally, I look at it as like, we're all lucky that in a country that we have no kings and we're not there, right? Because the whole point of, I'm assuming that the protest is that we don't want to get there, right? You're allowed to do this, right? You're allowed to go out there and peacefully protest for whatever the purpose is, right? So good for you guys, good for everyone, right? That you're going out there and protesting. You're free to do whatever you like because you live in a free country, and I'm happy for you. Am I okay with it? Meaning, like, me personally, am I gonna go out there and protest with you guys? No. But am I also? I'll tell you this. Am I also gonna be the guy out there going negatively and antagonizing you? I won't. I really won't join you. Well, join my cause. Let's say, like, if my views are different than you, I'm not gonna go out there and rub it in your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's no point,
I
you know.
think I think that's a big thing to notice is that a lot of conservatives or people that are not necessarily supportive of the movement, a lot of them will be in your face about it. I think that I'm appreciative of the fact that there are people that are grounded in their beliefs, but will still respect other people, even when they do something that they don't agree with. Um, but it is a thing. Like we see it a lot where protests will be happening, and we have the opposite side coming out and kind of starting a violent protest. But like I appreciate that you can sit here and say that you respect the cause, but at the end of the day, your own beliefs, you're still grounded in them, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna go out there and start antagonizing or being violent or being in people's faces about it. I think that that's something that we kind of need, especially in these times where there's a lot of political violence. Um, and I don't think political violence is ever okay. So in a time like this, and I think another reason that this podcast even was thought of was we are all the same. We're both people. We both function in a society, and in this society, I think we need to realize that being violent is not ever an answer for disagreement or trying to reach a goal. Everything should be respected. Everyone should be respected. Um, so yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I mean, as a father, I always tell you that we both should respect each other's opinions, no matter what, how differently we feel. I respect yours, you should respect others as well, as much as you might not agree with them, right? And the same thing is like, let's say you move on later on in life and you become a politician, and let's say you decide to, if you become a congressman or any whatever it is that you become to you get to accomplish, your goals will want to be is that you want to be able to be civil enough and likable enough that you want to be able to reach over the aisle, right, and be able to understand each other and come into understandings, right, with others. You do not want to be divisive with others, right, that you can't accomplish anything, because at the end of the day, what is the point and the goals of a politician, right? You're supposed to be representing your constituents, and you're supposed to be there for them, right? So obviously, all your constituents in a district or a state or a country, they're, even though you were voted by whatever party you're from, they're all mixed at the end of the day, right? So let's say, if you're a Democrat or independent or a Republican and you got voted in, at the end of the day, everyone in that district, state, or whatever it is that you're voted from, you're still going to have the other party you need to represent. So you need to still reach the other parties and come to agreements and try to like work in between, because you can't always please everyone. So it's like, I disagree when a Democrat always wants things their way, no matter what, and the same thing as with a Republican. So I believe that both parties, any party, should always try to have some middle grounds and try to be able to work with each other.
Yeah.
There's never anything good to be too extreme left or too extreme right.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'll say on that, I can appreciate on both sides of the aisle, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's been coming out a lot and talking about, healthcare in America has been, for the longest time, the most expensive thing to so many people. And I think she's starting to realize that it is a right that, we exist in one of the most powerful nations in the world, yet our healthcare premiums cost more than what we make in a year. And I think she, not necessarily came to her senses, but kind of understood that, like, hey, there's people in your district that really need, healthcare benefits, especially with this government shutdown. Their like lives are on the line, and as far right as Marjorie Taylor Greene is, she still kind of can understand that there are some things that she needs to and should kind of be a little bit more sympathetic to. And when it comes to healthcare, I think that she really understood that. I think that she understands that. And even with AOC, someone that's really on the left, she recently went on a town hall on this past Wednesday over in DC, and was talking about the fact that She wants everyone to have healthcare, not whether or not they are a, extreme left, or someone that is part of like the Democratic Socialists of America, or someone that is part of the MAGA movement. It doesn't matter who you are. AOC kind of just, she thinks it's a human right. Everyone should have it, and I think that's a great thing. I think that that idea that we should work across the aisle, kind of sit there and say, what do people in America want? Because at the end of the day, they are there to work for us, not for themselves. They are working in the interest of us. We voted them in. So this idea that they're constantly, sidelining what we want, I don't think that's okay. And there are people in Congress that understand that. And healthcare is one of those things, especially now with the government shutdown, that it's like, that's something that we need, something that a lot of us want. And, I can appreciate that both Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC kind of agree on this. But yeah,
No, I'm actually shocked that you said that about Marjorie Taylor Greene because Marjorie Taylor Greene has come a long way. I mean, I also have a lot of respect for her personally because, as you can tell, she was a very die-hard supporter of Trump. I'm not saying like I haven't seen her like bash Trump or anything, but I think she's actually calling out, some of the stuff. She's not completely like doing the whole blindsided thing, like the Republican Party doesn't do nothing wrong, kind of thing, So I like that. So that's very good. And in regards to the healthcare, the one thing that I'm not a fan, I will say, with the Democratic Party, I think is that whole yes, everyone should have healthcare coverage. Everyone in general should be a human right. The only thing is that as a country we should not be is that whole I think is that the whole fight of the Republican Party. We should not be providing health care for undocumented people that just cross the line, that cross the border. So it's that whole like, okay, we should be sympathetic for people, right? We should be feeling what's it called, we have some sympathy for others, and should be able to take care of people in need. But financially, we have to be considerate, right? So we could sit here and complain like, hey, why is it that we can't afford this, we can't afford that? But financially, if we don't look at budgetly, and we constantly get thrown at, oh, we're the richest country, we're the richest country. Okay, but we have a lot of debt, we have a tons of problems, and we send money here, we send money there, but then it doesn't make sense. And then you have this nonsense of we like, okay, so we're going to take care of others, but we don't take care of ourselves. So how is it that we're going to provide, let's say, Medicare for all, or healthcare for all, and but we're also giving healthcare to people that are not contributing to society, meaning paying taxes and things like that. So that's like let's fix problems before we start taking care of others.
yeah.
So
I want to talk about that a little bit because
yeah.
even like I keep bringing up Marjorie Taylor Greene. She might not be I don't agree with her on 9 out of the thing thousands of things like out of the many things that she says. I don't agree with a lot of the things that she has to say, but a couple of things that she has to say I do agree with. Where the America First problem. This current administration is not America First. We just sent like a $20 billion bailout to Argentina. I don't think that's okay, especially when we're dealing with so much at home. Why are we sending like $20 billion to Argentina? And even with, other countries like Israel, why is it that they have their education free, their healthcare costs covered so much? And, Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, she brings this up constantly where it's like, why is it that we in America do not have these things, but these countries that we constantly will send money to have all of these benefits? And yet we at home, the people paying for these benefits in other countries, do not have the same privilege as these people in other countries. And I want to talk about the undocumented immigrants receiving healthcare. This was something that I believe Ronald Reagan had passed 40 years ago when he was president, where if someone was essentially like bleeding out in a parking lot or dying, regardless of their legal status, healthcare providers had to help that person because we couldn't just have people just dying in the middle of the street in America. Like, that's not who we are. We're the #1 nation in the world. For us to just have people dying knowing that we could have helped them, I think that that's wrong. And I think that even Ronald Reagan kind of realized that. But the fact that we now are coming back on this 40 years later, where Caroline Leavitt, she's sitting there and she's saying that I don't think undocumented immigrants should be receiving these benefits. these immigrants do pay taxes when they go shopping, when they work, even if, let's say they are getting paid under the table, they still go out to shop at, the grocery store. They still pay taxes on those groceries. So not that, these immigrants are,
But remember,
entitled to benefits.
but remember, they're not paying income tax on payroll.
No, 100%. I definitely don't think that, they're paying the same amount that we are. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not like these people are receiving as much as Republicans have been saying, but it's not like they aren't contributing anything. They still contribute to some amount. It may not be as much as, the American citizen does, but to
Right.
some amount, they still do contribute a little bit. You know
But
what I
this
mean?
is like that. I feel like this comes down to like that social mentality in a way, because it's like, all right, so at the end of the day, you're looking at someone that is contributing a lot less, but is giving the same privilege as someone that's contributing a lot more.
Right.
You know,
I
so that's
mean,
become like that whole unfairness. But now, okay, at the end of the day, right, you say that about Ronald Reagan. So I personally, I don't see anything in regards to like you're gonna let someone bleed into death, right? So obviously, you have homeless people. There's no question when a homeless person is picked up off the street in New York City, and they're taken on an ambulance and they're giving them service, right? And then they put right back on the street. There's no question on and asking them, are you a citizen? They just giving them care. They take care of them in an emergency room, and they put them right back on the seat. But who flips that? Who flips the bill? The taxpayer. So all these things, but they take a lot of resources of of the hospital, the medical system, right? There's this whole crazy cycle that is gets abused, and unfortunately, it makes it very inefficient. So when you look at let's say like a migrant, let's say a migrant, let's say an immigrant, right? Someone like here illegally. When you had a influx of immigration that came in, right? That was excessive, right? I don't know what's the number, right? Some people say it was whatever, 18 million, 20 million, whatever, 5 million, 20, whatever it was in the past few years. It made a big impact, right? In our social living. So I think that's the biggest complaint of the Republican Party, right? This is like, hey, what are we doing? We need to stop this. We need to, one, secure the border, stop the incoming, let people come in, obviously enforce people to come legally, right? So like, you have people coming legally, so like that they're able to get, some kind of like working permits and stuff, be able to contribute and to pay taxes, income taxes and stuff. So there has to be a control of things. But when it was since it was so uncontrollable, the amount of people coming in, this whole system is like, it's just a big mess.
well, yeah, the system in general is a mess. I think the idea that we're talking about taxes, we pay so much in taxes, just getting rid of these people. It's cheaper to grant these people citizenship and give them jobs and have them actually contribute to the economy
Yeah.
in the way that we want them to, than to sit there and not only pay ICE to disappear people off the street, then pay the fees to actually deport them out of the country. It's cheaper to give them citizenship, then let them find a job, because with that citizenship they then get access to a social security number, which then lets them pay taxes. I think it's a lot cheaper and a lot more beneficial to give these people, because some of these people have been here for 10 plus years.
Yeah, which is sad, because if they're here for 10 plus years, I have to understand, I have to see something like, why is it that they're not trying to find ways to become citizens, So, maybe every case is different, right? Listen, there's a lot of heartbreaking moments and stories. I can't speak for every single one of them. If a lot of these people have criminal backgrounds, there's no sympathy, because unless there was a lot of bad stories, right? A lot of criminals, and then one or two or too many makes it bad for a lot of people, right? Unfortunately, this thing has blown up to be such a mess. We have people that are very emotional for everyone, and then you have people that are the opposite of our emotion, of the sad emotion, that is like where everyone is angry, right? That is just like, get them all out, just let's start all over again, let's clean the place up. And and what do you see? It's just families who get broken up. You see all the negative stuff. and the media has done a really bad problem of just pointing out all the bad things. I've seen a few times that they don't report the nice things, right? Not the nice things. They don't report the actual events. They just see, oh, this person's getting deported, but for what?
Yeah,
You know,
I want to talk about that because a lot of people that get arrested, they don't have a criminal record. Um, I understand the precedent of coming into this country is an illegal act in itself, but they're not necessarily criminals in the way that we define it. They don't commit crimes. They work. They have family. They live here, and they make up the largest share of people that are in U.S. immigrant detention. And I do want to talk a little bit about like them paying taxes. I did a little Google search, and in New York alone, they paid $3 billion in taxes, which is quite a substantial amount.
and let me ask you, has that money improved New York?
Well,
I'm just asking because I pay what is it, congestion pricing, all the tolls that I pay, tolls keep rising. Now the MTA, there's going to be a fare hike, so it's like New York keeps finding ways to increase revenue. And unfortunately, do you see any what do you call it, an improvement of quality of life in New York? Unfortunately, it's not.
yeah, I mean, New York in itself, New York politics is a very messy politics. We have Mayor Adams, who's a very
Shady
bad
guy.
mayor. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Curtis Lewa warned everyone 4 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, Eric Adams is not a good mayor like whatsoever. Very much a sellout. The way that he essentially took Trump pardoned him, not necessarily pardoned him, but was considering pardoning him in itself just said a lot because it's, first of all, why do you need a pardon? Second of all, we know why you need a pardon because you were taking illegal funds from countries in like Armenia was donating to him, which is illegal. So New York politics in itself is a bad thing. But I will say that taxes, no matter where we go, like we can go to the reddest state in the country, like West Virginia, the second reddest state in last year. They also have infrastructure problems. They also have a lot of people that struggle to live on a day-to-day basis. It's not necessarily a blue or red issue.
Right.
It's an everywhere issue. How local governments decide to use their taxes is up to them,
Correct.
and are they using it efficiently enough? It's a case by case basis.
We live in New Jersey, and our taxes are one of the highest in the nation, right? Especially in property taxes. And it's funny. I did a little. What do you call it? A little test to. I use Grok. I don't use ChatGPT. And I said, why is it that when I drive in Pennsylvania, and when we drive here in New Jersey, I find New Jersey a prettier state than Pennsylvania. And it was a logical reason. And it's because it's because of how much we're taxed higher than Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And New Jersey is a lot more dense, so the taxes goes into infrastructure.
Yeah.
And a lot more so there's more taxes. So sorry, New Jersey is higher taxed. It's more dense than Pennsylvania, so there's a lot more to it. Obviously, it affects my pocket because I am more taxed, but it is a lot prettier, and it's I have smoother roads and so and so.
You see a return on investment on
I
that,
see it a
right?
return on investment, right? But it depends on what investment you want, correct?
Well-
some people just before I cut you
yeah.
off, because depends what you want, right? So if you want better infrastructure, like what roads, bridges, schools, right? Great school districts. I'm sorry, I think New Jersey has great school districts.
No, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So, or do you want free bus like Zohran Mamdani wants to do in New York City? What else? Okay. Yes, I do think one thing that he wants to do is with child care, free child care,
affordable or free childcare, right?
Right. That's fine. I understand because there's a lot of parents that need to go to work, especially single parents. It's hard for parents to be able to work and pay child care as well. We've been through that, so it is something that is it's a challenge.
Right. But that's not coming at the cost of the consumer. It would come at the cost of the people that have so much money they don't even know what to do with it. With the whole raising taxes on people
That could be our next topic.
on the top 1%, I think that is a return on investment. We see it in countries like that they pay a lot of taxes, like a lot of Nordic countries. People pay a lot of taxes in those countries, but guess what? They are receiving free healthcare. They receive a lot of benefits on their housing. They receive, amazing education. They receive so much stuff. It's taxes is you put more in, you get more back. That's simply what taxes is. So in New Jersey, we pay a lot of taxes, but guess what? We have the #1 education in the entire country. We have, constantly infrastructure, development being that I'm always seeing buildings coming up every time I drive around in New Jersey. You know what I mean? So I think that higher taxes isn't necessarily a horrible thing. It's just the way that we use them.
Is the way we use them is if it's properly managed, and you'll use an example right now as the you said Nordic or Norwegians?
Let's say Norway, for example.
Okay, so my question would be, why do we have to use other places as like as a test, right? Or as an example? Why can't we try different ways of doing things? Meaning like, what can we find ways of trying to improve the life of a city or a state, and not be followers. For example, just throwing it out there, not to get too far away. So our current president, right, Donald Trump, right? So his way of doing things, right, like his ultimate goal would be to have enough tariffs to come into the country to eliminate taxes, right? Where nobody's getting taxed, right? Okay, you might argue, right? You might argue, I might argue, others might argue that we are kind of getting taxed because we're going to be paying on the product, right?
Right.
So what would that turn into? I believe that would be turning into tax on consumption, right? So let's say the product was $1 now, because that product is coming from X country, maybe it's taxed, it's tariffed at 100%. So let's say it's $2 or whatever the math would be. So you're paying out $2. So now you're paying the double the price, but you're not paying taxes, right? So now you're consuming on you're paying double the price, but you're not paying taxes, right? Let's say you made $1,000 that week, right, in your paycheck. You took home $1,000, but your tariffs, the tariffs that are paying, government running, Medicaid for all, right? How they say now you get now government is paying everybody, is giving everyone health care. Now it might be government health care. You might say it's good, it might be bad, right? There's a catch-22 with that, right?
Right.
I think we spoke there once.
Yeah.
So there's different ways. So why is it we have to follow what Norwegian, the Norwegian countries are doing, or other states are doing? Why is it we have to follow what England did with congestion pricing? Listen, buddy. I started to drive to New York City for work, and maybe the first 2 months I saw an an improvement in traffic, and then after 3 months it went right back to the same traffic.
Yeah.
So now I'm paying an extra $400 a month for what? For nothing.
Right.
So I feel like I got stiffed.
Yeah.
So I'm getting
100%.
taxed. So thank you, Kathy Hochul, for taxing every fool in New York City and the tri-state area for nothing, pretty much, just to improve the MTA, which all I hear is it hasn't improved anything. So let's see what's gonna happen.
I mean, look, and that the whole congestion pricing, that's a whole different topic, because I personally think it's a fine idea. The whole idea of congestion pricing is to improve the transit. It's the issue of people still drive when they should be taking the transit. You know what I mean? But there's not enough transit for people to be taking. And
Can
transit.
I ask you a question? And this is gonna get a little messed up with my union people.
No.
Whatever happened to? Wouldn't you think it would be better to actually audit the MTA and to see where's the waste in the MTA? Let's say okay, the MTA is not well funded. We need to raise capital, right? So how are we going to raise? We need to raise funding. So how are we going to raise funding? We need to raise the hikes. We need to raise the rates for fare. We need to raise rates for the consumers to so we could raise more funding. That's the only way that they know how to get money. But they don't really find ways. They don't run it like a business, So wouldn't it be good to doge the MTA, meaning go in there, look at what's wrong. Why is it that there's never enough money? Because me personally, for what I've heard, I don't have friends, but I've heard from a lot of friends of friends. Let's say, I know there's maybe a bad way to listen to it. How much money does the MTA conductor or the bus driver earn, and how much downtime they have? That these guys make. There's a lot of waste in there.
Yeah.
Am I saying that they don't deserve it? Listen, they might deserve it. They have their union contracts, and so I get it. But my point is, there's a lot of waste in operations that maybe if they would actually run the MTA better and more efficient, one, maybe trains will be easier, will be faster, more efficient. The rates wouldn't be as high. Maybe they wouldn't be doing these pilots runs of congestion pricing and doing all these nonsense. So this cannot always be the excuse to always raise rates. And if you don't find ways to, audit these government agencies, so my point to you is this: why is it that government never looks into ways like that? I mean, obviously, we have the first administration now in as a presidency that they went and started doing that. Starting to look at ways to cut funding. I mean, cut waste. Yeah. Which it had its criticism because they went and cut other programs that people didn't like. I get it. I don't want to get into that if you want. But my point is, why is it that in a city agency like this, they don't do that? Yeah. That's a good way to do it, instead of screwing the civilians.
Yeah, first of all, I don't believe the MTA is for profit. So the money that they do make is operational costs and maintenance costs. And the MTA in itself is a very old system. We're talking about a system that's at least 100 years old. More. So it's not easy to keep that up and running. So it does cost a lot at the end of the day. Not, I definitely, there might be waste, but I think doing a purge in the way that Doge did is not the best solution. There are people that work in the MTA and they make, wages that, support them. I don't know. I think the MTA in itself is a lot of topics that we brought up. They all require like a lot more deep dive into them, but we are like a little bit over our time limit. So, do you want to like last comments or?
Yeah, sure. If you want to would you like to do a closing topic or?
Final thoughts. I think at the end of the day, like we said constantly, this is like a back and forth of where do we stand generationally, where do we stand in our personal beliefs, our values, based on what we grew up around, how we grew up, regarding our generation. I think that in just this conversation alone, you can see that there are different values, and that's never a bad thing. But I think that this was a healthy conversing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, episode 1, we just started off. I think we have some good topics that we went through. We're looking forward to episode 2, and my name is Victor.
My name is Fabian.
And we'll see you until the next episode. Peace.
Thank you.